indigents of Abuja. We'll go on this short break first. Thank you so much. Welcome back from that break. And now I'm sure you're wondering, what topic do they have for us today? People have a lot of myths and misconceptions about diabetes, so we are going to demystify all of that today. And I have in the studio Professor Onye Butelem Henry. He's professor of medicine, Nile University, Abuja. He's also specialist endocrinologist, Wuse Hospital, Abuja. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much.
It's good to know that you are here to demystify myths and misconceptions about diabetes. Now, let's start off by, in very simple terms, tell us what diabetes is.
Yeah, diabetes is a clinical condition which is marked by chronically high blood sugar. And that is as a result of some problem, with the specific chemical that is produced by the body, which is meant to control blood sugar. And that chemical unit is referred to as insulin, which may either be inadequate or may be present but not working properly. And so with that, blood sugar is allowed to go on all the way high and will cause many problems in the body, affecting also the body build, the protein, as well as even the fat metabolism within the body. And these go, with time to cause complications which may take on different major organs of the body.
Okay.
And of course, that affects quality of life, and it attracts so much of attention in terms of health burden and the need to curb it. Resources will have to go in. So when we're talking about diabetes, it's a chain event.
Okay.
That is released by something which is thought to be simple if it's not recognized.
Okay. How common is it now? Because I remember growing up, when you hear someone has diabetes, it is an aged person. But now children seem to also be coming down with diabetes. I need you to tell us how common it is and why it is this common now.
Yeah, I think it's a burden, a big problem really currently, because if you look at the rate at which we're seeing diabetes common, it becomes worrisome. Currently, if you globally, we have more than 830 million people.
Wow, that's a large number,
living
sir.
with diabetes. And if you come down into Africa, we have about 24, 25 million people living with diabetes in Africa. When I looked at literature, I realized that around 2018, there was an assessment of the prevalence of diabetes within the Abuja area. And then it was reported as 3.8. But in a study that we did just early this year, that we published in the Nile Journal of Health Sciences, we recorded a prevalence of 5.2%.
Wow.
So you can see in under 10 years, less than 10 years, there's been close to double that prevalence. And of course, the reason is not far-fetched, it's blowing in the wind. With changing lifestyle, people are more sedentary, and then what you calorie dense food is all about. People are busy, they don't have much time to, so they go out to catch calorie dense food, which some are cheap enough. And then there are so many things that would keep people, or prevent them from doing routine exercise to burn some of those easily acquired calories. People who develop diabetes may have a genetic predisposition to the condition.
Okay.
And for the diabetes to manifest, there must be, you know, uh, the right environment or environmental factors for it to happen. And before I go forward, let me just say that when talking about diabetes, there are types, type 1, type 2
I was going to ask
diabetes,
that. I was
and
going
of
to ask
course,
that.
we have the ones that happen in pregnant women,
Okay.
seen for the first time, that we call gestational diabetes.
But
And
when
then,
they give birth, does it reverse?
yes, in some ways, usually it reverses.
Okay.
But these same women run a risk of developing type 2 diabetes later in life.
Okay.
And indeed, some women will continue with diabetes from there even after they deliver. So you have the type 1, which seems to, have its autoimmune, what we call its inherent, some kind of problems taking place at the background, and that happens to cause damage to the source of the chemical insulin, which is elaborated by the body. And with that, it's a particular type which is seen in the younger children, younger people. And the main type of diabetes, about 19.95%, are the type 2.
Okay.
So that's why most times when we're talking about the reason for diabetes happening, it is easier to talk about what happens to bring about type 2 because there is some genetic predisposition. And then for that to manifest, there must be a right environment. And of course, these environmental factors that we are talking about include the sedentary lifestyle, obesity, and so many, even smoking. People who don't burn calorie and acquire so much, and with time, they tend to develop changes within the body that will bring about
Diabetes.
diabetes.
Okay. So talking about sedentary lifestyle, you mentioned that as why some people have diabetes. So is it right to assume that because growing up I used to hear people say no, diabetes is either for the elderly or it is for the rich or it is because of sugar. Are these myths and misconceptions or they're actually true because you just mentioned sedentary
Yeah.
lifestyle?
Yes. When we are talking about sedentary lifestyle is a major because there are so many things, factors that will result in that. And then, of course, a vicious cycle gets to play. Someone is sedentary, gains weight, becomes obese, which is stand alone risk factor. And so that sets up, someone who is obese tend to be more sedentary, and so many other things. And then when we're talking about myths in diabetes, you mentioned diabetes happening in just for the rich and the elderly. No, anyone who has that background genetic predisposition and with the right environment, that is poor lifestyle, diet, the sedentary lifestyle, and so many of those are factors that may predispose them, will develop diabetes irrespective of the social or socioeconomic status. So it is not just for the rich. In fact, in the past, it was thought to be more for the rich because at that time, those were the people who tended to, you know, eat much more and retain more calorie. But now, of course, with the widespread availability of foods that are calorie dense, everybody who um, does not live a healthy lifestyle in terms of physical exertion as well as calorie consumption is at risk of
Okay.
developing diabetes mellitus.
Okay, sir. So we'll take a pause now and go through the streets of Abuja to find out what people think about diabetes because he has said a lot already. He has told us what it is and how one can get it. But let's go to the streets and find out the views of people.
I believe that people should, cut down on sugar and they should watch their weight as well. Diabetes is not good for, especially people of people, elderly people, even young people nowadays have diabetes. So I believe that people should watch their weight, especially cut down on sugars. Anything that is going to, bring out the spike and all of that, should cut down on it.
Diabetes is a medical condition in which the body have difficulty in regulating blood sugar due to excessive glucose. They should exercise regularly, regular fitness, and they should eat healthy food like vegetables as well. Then personally, I would suggest visiting a doctor regularly to for constant checkup. It's better to prevent it than to cure it.
You can get diabetes through different ways. You can get it through, I heard sometimes it's even hereditary. It can be from sugar, different things. But like what I advise people is just always go for checkups. Don't ever be too sure. Like if you pee on the floor and you see that ants are like all over the place, you should or your pee is very yellow or it's not like the normal color, just go for checkups. Even without that, still just go. If you take sugar a lot, just try and balance it and just live a healthy life and drink enough water.
Thank you, the residents of Abuja, for your views and thoughts on diabetes, the topic we are discussing. My guest is still in the studio. Yes. And now, sir, I know for every illness, you would see signs. You see warning signs to know that, oh, okay, I'm about to come up with this, or this is happening to my body. What are the warning signs of diabetes?
Yeah, let me state here clearly that diabetes is known as one of those silent killers. And many people may have diabetes without knowing for long,
Wow.
unless you have routine checks, particularly checking blood sugar. Then you can pick diabetes when it is developing or when it has just happened. Otherwise, you may be having diabetes, incubating it for long, and it may now present for the first time with complications. But ordinary, the classical features that may show to um, represent diabetes include passing urine frequently. Someone begins to lose weight despite eating much. In fact, appetite may even increase, but they keep losing weight. And then they tend to have infections, recurrent infections. Um, if that happens, then one would be advised to go check the blood sugar because you may just be having diabetes. Although there are some other conditions that may, you know, give this same symptom. So it's important to see your doctor so as to assess you properly and request for the necessary tests that may help in reaching a diagnosis.
Okay. When you mentioned that it is a silent killer, one can have it and then you don't even know.
Yes.
It just brought my attention to the fact that most Africans and especially Nigerians, this routine checkup is something, except if we're down with an illness, we don't really. How important is it for people to go for a routine checkup? And sorry, sir, and what major checkups should we go for? Are there specific things we should always check for?
Yeah, when it has to do with diabetes, it's important to look at the blood sugar. Um, and then because diabetes also goes with some other conditions like hypertension, it's good for, your healthcare provider to check the blood pressure as well. And then there are some other changes that diabetes may cause in the blood that has to do with fat content of the blood. So they may also check the fat distribution, in the blood, which would help. They may also want to look at the kidney function at that time, because as I said, someone could have had diabetes for long without knowing, and it may have already affected some major organs. And one of those very vital organs is the kidney. So they may want to also do a kidney function test alongside urine tests as a routine, and then they may want to do some other blood tests that may show a blood picture that may also give some revelations and may help the physician in attending to that individual.
When you are diagnosed to have diabetes, does it always is it always a death sentence? Does it mean it doesn't have a cure that you have to live with it all your life? Tell us about treatment and management of this disease.
Yeah, I think that's a very good one. It's an area of particular interest to me because when you're talking about diabetes, we know over time it's known to be a lifelong condition. Diabetes is not a death sentence, and it's important that if one is diagnosed as having diabetes, get properly should get properly assessed and get early intervention. And that intervention has to do with appropriate, adequate treatment. You have to get the opinion of the expert in diabetes medicine for at least to put treatment on track with that initial assessment. And that helps, that early intervention help in reducing the possibility of future complications, happening. So that makes it very vital. The fact that you're having adequate early treatment, of course, getting blood sugar control pretty early, the risk of complications are close to minimal and you live your normal life. When you're looking at um, the other aspect, which I think is very important to me, we have had to make some paper publications recently, and the international bodies too are beginning to recognize that fact that there is a component which is called a concept which is called remission, in which case some people with diabetes with some specific characteristics have been found to enter a period of remission, you know, especially those with the type 2. And then for those with type 1, they go into, some of them may enter what we call a honeymoon
Okay.
period,
Okay.
in which
What's
case,
that period?
honeymoon period, in which case the diabetes actually seem to have gone away.
Okay.
Um, but you need continuous monitoring. You maintain good, adequate lifestyle. Drugs may not be needed during that period, but that individual has to maintain that healthy lifestyle to maintain the blood sugar. Recently, we published a case of remission diabetes of a Nigerian who we saw, you know, and after about a year or so, we realized that with adequate diet, healthy weight, sustenance, she entered a remission, in which case she maintained herself on exercise and diet without drugs. And the blood sugar remained normal, the diabetes remained controlled. So to type 1, there are some children who may enter similar period, but that we don't call them remission. Those are the people we call, who say they've entered honeymoon period.
Okay.
And that period is very crucial, because they also need monitoring because they still run that risk of the sugar shooting up later. So we don't talk of cure. You don't cure diabetes, you manage diabetes, and some may go into some of these, escape routes
Okay.
that may put them, off harm's way for a period, but require so much of your attention. It's not that you say they've been cured, and then they go. No.
Okay. You spoke about nutrition while answering this question, and I know that when you have diabetes, there are certain things you're told to stay away from. Now, if you do not have, and you are trying not to have, what are those things you shouldn't? Are there specific things you should eat when you do not have, so you do not get? And then when you have diabetes, are there certain things you shouldn't? Tell us about that, sir.
Yeah, actually, when you're looking at the nutrition in diabetes, I think it's basically that healthy nutrition, what you were supposed to have been doing. So it's for both the person who does not have diabetes and the person who has diabetes. So because the person who has diabetes has to go back to the drawing board to start doing those things that they didn't do.
Okay.
In which case that has to do with, when it has to do with diet, we're talking of portion size, not necessarily what you eat, but how much. When you talk to your healthcare provider, is going to sit you down and counsel you on how much that you have to take. The only thing is that we would now advise some kind of foods like refined sugars. You want to stay off that because they tend to get the blood sugar quickly up.
Okay.
And then you need to moderate on some foods that also give. But that does not stop you from eating your balanced diet. So you're expected to eat your balanced carbohydrate, fat, and protein content in diet, which should be healthy. We're only specific on portion size. So you're cutting down the amount of this you eat, and then you improve on that with fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
That's how simple the diet in diabetes is. So that you don't go for someone to ask you to uh, omit carbohydrate. Whereas, indeed, your meal is supposed to have 50 to 55%
Of
of its
carbohydrates.
constituent made up by carbohydrate.
Okay.
You know,
So there's this thing I almost forgot to ask. So for some people, they think diabetes is hereditary. I would like you to demystify this for even me too. Is it always hereditary? Because you find out that someone might say, we have a family history of this particular sickness, so I am trying to keep off this and that so that I do not come down with it. Is that always the case? Hereditary?
yeah, for the type 2 diabetes, there is a genetic background. And it doesn't mean that if you have a family history, then you must have diabetes. As I said, there is a genetic background. For diabetes to happen, the right environment will have to play. Those environmental factor, poor lifestyle.
Okay.
Good. So if there is that genetic predisposition, and then you are able to curtail, to check those bad, unhealthy lifestyle, then your risk of developing diabetes, even though you have a genetic predisposition, is low. For the type 1, it's not inherited. Type 2 has a genetic predisposition. For the gestational type, which has been in pregnant women, that has to do with pregnancy. So there is no inheritance. I think one myth around that area of diabetes transmission is that of catching it. Some
Okay.
people talk about diabetes being contagious. No. And then you see them when they see someone has diabetes, they stay away from that person because there's that myth that if they go close to that person, they may catch diabetes.
Okay.
No, it is not contagious.
All right. Thank you so much, Prof. Onyebutulem, for coming on the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, we've been thoroughly educated by the Prof himself, and he has told us, he has demystified myths and misconceptions about diabetes. Until we come your way again on the Sunday show, I remain Pamela Zamfara. Do have a very lovely Sunday.
Welcome to a journey back in time where style and soul collide. Afro Old School, a timeless crown of glory. The Afro wig, it's not just hair, it's a statement, an expression and celebration of the nature of the African hair. From literally giants, activists to entertainers, the Afro hairstyle has made its mark.
My baby just can't take her eyes off me.
Today, not many people who love the Afro hairstyle have the hair for it, so the Afro wig reigns supreme, spreading joy and nostalgia for old school parties and throwback fashion styles. For Ivy, a professional dancer in Abuja, the Afro wig is a much loved fashion piece and a business essential as FCT residents love a good old school party. Trends come and go. The Afro old school wig stands tall, reminding us that the groove never fades. So put on your Afro, join the rhythm, and let your soul dance to the beats of the past. Old school, old-fashioned, traditional. What once was are common ways we use to refer to memories, events, objects, and television shows that once shaped our lives. In a time before the streaming services and social media, Nigerian television captured the hearts and minds of viewers across the nation with its iconic shows. Growing up in the 80s, the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, was the channel to watch. With the color bars up at a couple of minutes to 4 p.m., we were glued to the front of our TV screens, waiting for the cartoon of the day. From Super Ted, Voltron, Gem, and a personal favorite, Ovid and the Gang, with a wide variety of children programming, we sat and watched, not only to be entertained, but also to learn crucial values alongside late Jimmy Sholanke's Storyland and Tinkem's Tales by Moonlight, Sesame Street, amongst others.
Waiter! Just a moment, sir!